What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Stand Up Guys Podcast, episode 184. I am your host, incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, delivering DoorDash and getting tipped with DoorGash, the wine and dining, 69 and he'll throw in extra butter for a taste of that turd cutter, the phenomenal AJ Singh.
What's up, everybody?
AJ, you been doing anything good this week?
I've been watching X-Files all over again.
I've never watched that. So how is it?
It's great, man. I love that show.
Still holds up.
I watched it twice over, and now this is my third time going through it.
Oh my god! So you're like an X-Files super fan.
Oh yeah.
Now, what did you think of the reboot they did a couple years ago? Because I heard a lot of X-Files fans were like, "It's not very good."
No, it was not. They had two new people. They had, Mulder and Scully were barely in it. It just wasn't the same.
Yeah, I've never watched the show. I think Vince Gilligan, who was one of the lead writers on Breaking Bad. I think he was actually a writer on some of the early seasons of X-Files.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, from what I've seen, his name always comes up, at least in the first season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I should check it out because Breaking Bad's great.
Well, okay, look, it's no Breaking Bad, but it's still pretty good. Especially for its time period. Look, I do laugh at some of the effects and stuff, what they think was really mysterious and sci-fi at the time was kind of silly. It was just basic computer graphics. It wasn't anything impressive, but it's still, for what it is, it's great. The writing is fun, and the actors are fun to watch. David Duchovny is just charismatic. He's got something to him,
It is funny, shows from that era, sometimes the effects budget, they didn't have hardly anything, and so it doesn't look good all the time, but if the writing is good, you can forgive it.
Right, yeah.
There's actually I've talked about on this show how I'm a unironic fan of Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman from the 90s with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher.
Yeah.
And that show, you can't really watch it for the effects because I think they had about a $10 per episode effects budget. Most of the Superman stuff looks cheesy and terrible. But a lot of the writing in that show is actually pretty good. And that's what saves it for me. So it's a mixed bag for sure, but I like that show still.
Yeah, Terry Hatcher was somebody I definitely thought was the bee's knees, right? She was really pretty at the time, so.
Yeah, she's super hot. And to be honest, she's still my favorite Lois Lane.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, did you ever watch Smallville? I didn't watch it, but people are always saying good things about it.
Actually, no, Smallville is a show I pretty much missed because I remember when it started, there was no streaming. It was just cable. And for whatever reason, it was not in our cable market. So, I couldn't watch it. And then, by the time I could, I caught a random episode and I was just this doesn't, maybe I just caught a bad episode. I don't know. But I was this is bad. So I never watched Smallville. But I know it went on for ever.
It had a bunch of seasons. I don't know how many, but yeah, people are always referencing Smallville. Apparently it was a hit. I kind of think it's worth watching. I know one of the actresses on that show is the one who had part of that NXIVM.
Right. Yeah, that was a crazy story. Yeah.
But even that makes me want to watch it, to be honest.
Can you spot the crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, Smallville is one of those superhero shows that just kind of passed me by. And then, because it did last so many seasons, I'm now it seems insurmountable to actually watch it,
I've done that with so many shows, but at the same time, I feel like I have a lot to watch now. I can catch up on it. So, yeah.
What else you been watching? I know you told me the other day that your Houston Cougars, they finally lost out.
Yeah, we have an All-American point guard who got injured. It's nobody's fault, but I mean, it was just really bad luck. We lost him in a big game during the tournament. You can't lose a single game. So, I mean, we got to the Sweet 16 5 years in a row. That's a good accomplishment. And we put up a fight. We lost by 3 points in that game without our best player. So,
Is the March Madness still going, or is it?
yeah, it's down to 4 teams now: Alabama, Connecticut, Purdue, and North Carolina State, which is very surprising.
Oh,
They were not supposed to get that far.
they're the underdogs?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But, I'm not paying as much attention to it as I would have, so. eh.
Actually, I haven't been watching like a ton of like new stuff. I did finish up season 2 of Halo, which
Okay.
I get like I was fine with it, but I did see a tweet online where this guy's like, uh, Halo, the Halo TV show is like if they made a Spider-Man TV show, but like Spider-Man lived in Arizona or something, and Uncle Ben was still alive, and like
Uh,
he's like it's like completely different apparently from the game. So like I can
yeah.
I guess if it's that like different, like I can totally see why Halo fans might hate it, but for me it's just like a cool sci-fi world. Um, yeah, I didn't mind it. Like I've mentioned in the past, like there are like some action scenes that get a little bit CG heavy, a little bit cartoony looking, where your eyes are like that doesn't look quite right. It looks a little too video gamey, even though it's supposed to be live action.
Okay.
But other than that, I didn't bump up against much. I enjoyed it. I also started watching Shogun, which is an FX show. I'm watching it on Hulu.
Is it like
Um,
a Japanese kind of thing?
yeah, yeah. So it's a Japanese show. Kind of has, I guess, kind of like a Game of Thrones feel. Basically, the story is like the shogun of Japan died, and he basically split his power between like 5 different people. And
Oh,
in the
what? So
yeah,
like five
so
different kingdoms.
right, right. So yeah, there's
Okay.
like 5 different kingdoms, and in this season, like basically, there's one guy trying to conspire to get everybody else to basically vote to kill one of these guys that leads one of the kingdoms or whatever. Um, and there's like this British guy who gets kind of caught up in the whole thing as well.
This has
Um,
to be a white guy, huh?
yep. But in this show, he's basically the token white guy because everybody else is Japanese. So
I'll take it.
I think they're really trying to like be like, we promise we're not making this a white savior like show or whatever. I guess I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I kind of feel like it kind of reminds me of the Last Samurai, or that was at least a really interesting take on a samurai.
Yeah, I never saw that movie. However, I believe Tom Cruise's character in that movie is based on like a real guy from history.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't know exactly like how like was it a really white guy or was it like a Korean guy or like somebody who's non-Japanese but still like related to the culture in some way? I don't know. It
Yeah, I'm
just
not.
seems weird to me.
Yeah, I didn't see that movie, so I'm not exactly sure what the story is there. It is funny though. Look, the Last Samurai being Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Video game wise, I think I talked to you about this off air, but a couple weeks ago, I finally did beat God of War Ragnarok,
Oh,
which,
okay.
yeah, really fantastic game. A part of me, like, I was going around and like I kind of wanted to get all the collectibles and everything, but some
Mhm.
of those like end game fights are like really hard, and so I was kind of getting frustrated. So like I put it down. I don't know if I'll go back and totally finish it up or not, but I collected quite a bit of stuff, but yeah, there's
So Ragnarok, that's the second one, right? Is it the first one or the second one?
it's the second one.
Oh, I didn't know you were playing the second one. I thought you played the first one.
Oh, no, I played the first one like years ago. So yeah, this is Ragnarok's the second one.
Oh, okay, okay. So yeah, I mean, a lot of drama, a lot of drama. Like, so what do you think of like the portrayal of Odin? I know you thought he was kind of like different from like mythology and stuff, but
Well,
like towards the end,
he's the one character that was weird because he's played by Richard Schiff, and I recognize that actor, and
yeah,
so yeah, just seeing him as Odin, like Odin, you kind of I get because like from like Thor comics and even like Anthony Hopkins in the Thor movies, like Thor just or Odin just seems like a kind of a bigger, like bulkier, like
yeah,
presence
like
of
yeah,
yeah,
like a
and just
booming kind of yeah.
yeah, and he's just like kind of skinnier, and he's got Richard Schiff's voice. It was just yeah, I didn't necessarily expect that, but he did a great performance, and
It
yeah,
was a
they
great twist on it. It was a great, like the direction they went with it. He's kind of like Weasley and slimy. Like, he's not like he pretends to be like a good person really well. He's very clever and like he
right.
hides his motivations well. It's pretty
Right,
good.
very manipulative,
Yeah, very
manipulative,
manipulative. Yeah,
and I won't spoil it because it's like kind of a big thing in the game. But like, I'll just say there's a deception involved.
yeah,
His
yeah.
character does it was a good reveal, like when it happens.
Right, right.
Yeah.
What do you think about Atreus' decision making? Do we talk about this? Like, I told you would be concerned with it at some point. I don't know if we touched back on that.
I don't think we did.
Mhm.
Um,
Like, did
yeah.
you get what he was trying to do? Like, I,
Now,
I, yeah,
oh, go ahead. Now, I was like, now it's been a few weeks. Now I got to think about on it. But um, you mean with like the mask and things?
not just the mask, but like his plan to like learn from certain people, like to like put himself in harm's way the way he did. Like, was it really? Was the payoff worth it to do that? Like, I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess he made some questionable choices. I guess in the end it worked, I guess. But
Did it matter? Did it matter that he even did that though? Like, would the outcome have changed if he didn't do that?
um I mean that's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know what he accomplished because like the mask thing wouldn't have happened without him anyway. So you know, yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah, good question. And then I started playing AJ, have you ever played any of the Final Fantasy games?
I played some Final Fantasy 13, but I hate turn-based game. I think that's a turn-based fighting style.
Yeah, so Final Fantasy, it's one of those things where I've tried a couple of them in the past, and I've
Mhm.
always given up on them because they just get so repetitive and they're so long that I
Mhm.
think the first one I played was 8,
Okay.
and back then it was like a PS1 game, so I think it had like 4 discs, and I think
Mhm.
I made it to like disc 3, and I was like, I don't know, I gave up on it, and
Yeah.
then I played Final Fantasy 10, and
Mhm.
again I got like quite a ways in, but it just got too repetitive and I gave up. And then like Final Fantasy 7 is like the kind of the most popular game in the series, like, and it was this game everybody rants about. So like several years ago they announced like they were going to do like a like remake of 7. And so I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I want to like play the original and actually like force myself to get through it. And I played a lot of it. But
Yeah.
AJ, it happened again where I got bored with it and like frustrated with it, and I was like, I gotta move on because I don't know.
Mhm.
But they made the remake, and just recently, like last month or I think February, like the second game in the remake came out. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to play like the remake of the first remake they did a couple years ago because it was like on sale and I bought it.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm like maybe with the more modern like sensibility, like I'll be able to get through it, and I think that I will. I'm about halfway through this game, and
Mhm.
like it's this particular game is like linear enough that like I think I'll get through it. But basically, what they did is it's kind of a cross between like a, a modern action game and turn based, where like you beat up on the enemies and it fills up this meter, and then when the meter gets full, you can basically like pause time, and then it'll bring up like the turn-based menu, and you can select like special moves and items. So they kind of did like a blending where it's not solely turn-based.
Mhm.
It's both action and with a little bit of that turn-based stuff in there. And
Okay.
so it's interesting. I think it's certainly easier to play than a fully like turn-based game. Like if you're
Okay.
turned off by the turn-based stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I'm liking it okay. I will say like um, Japanese games sometimes just have silly characterizations in them,
Yeah.
and that is definitely true in this game. Like there's definitely a few scenes where I'm rolling my eyes, and there's like some silly dialogue and stuff that I'm like, they probably could have done better than that. And
Okay.
it's dialogue where I'm like, I don't know if it was in the original or not. I can't remember,
Mhm.
um, um, but like the cutscenes and stuff look very good. So
Okay.
I don't know. I would say like if you're curious about Final Fantasy, but the turn-based stuff turned you off, like maybe give it a try.
Right. Um,
Um,
I did good.
oh no, go ahead.
I did watch that show Ghost. I don't know if I brought this up, but I started getting into season three. I
I
watched. I
did
think it's like,
see, I did
mhm.
see a preview for season three, so I knew it was like coming out again.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're like 5 episodes in. I think they're taking a break, like right now from like episode 5 to like episode 6. There's like seems to be some space here. Um, it's a good show. Like, I feel like it's getting better and better each season. I saw the viewership is increasing, at least from season 1 to season 2, anyway.
Okay.
Um, it seems to be kind of like a popular show, and I'm glad that it's got that positive reception because these network TV shows get canceled so quickly. I think it's on CBS or something, so I hope it sticks around for a little while.
Do you know like so? This is a show that actually airs on. It's not just streaming only. It airs on broadcast TV, and then it comes to streaming as well.
I believe so. I mean, I watch it on Paramount Plus,
Okay.
and but it's also on Hulu, so that makes me think that it must be on TV too. It's not just on like one particular app.
I think at least that gives it a little better of a chance because like I think shows that are still somewhat supported by like traditional advertising like on network television,
Hmm.
like I think they have like a better chance for longevity than like streaming only shows do because like
Hmm.
they know with like streaming like without having that constant revenue source, like once they get like 3 seasons in and they're like, oh, this season didn't bring out any more people than the last season did, that's when like streaming shows get canceled. So I think streaming shows get the axe a lot quicker than cable like based shows.
Yeah, for sure, that's true. And I mean, this show, I don't know what is like considered high ratings, but from what I saw, like its high point is around 9 to 10 million viewers, more or less.
Okay.
So I think that's good. I'm not sure. I don't really know that stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be considered good. Like, because I think even like WWE, like, with their weekly shows, like they're doing good right now, and I think they get each of their shows probably gets like 2 million viewers or something, and that's considered
okay,
good.
man. I mean, we talked about it, but in the '90s, everybody watched WWE.
I yeah. Oh, their ratings were
Everybody.
insane back then, like Attitude Era. Yeah,
Yeah.
Their ratings
That
were
was late
killer.
'90s, early 2000s, right? Like somewhere around that time.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was the golden age for me, anyway. I mean,
yeah. It was so good. It was so good.
yeah.
You know, that's an era of wrestling where like I don't even want to go back and rewatch it because I don't want to find out that like it doesn't hold up. You know what I mean? I want
Okay,
to just
yeah.
I want it just to live in my memories the way I think it was.
I mean, okay. I think what got me into it was one day I was just flipping channels and I saw Dennis Rodman come out of nowhere and start fighting in a wrestling match. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
The
that was dope.
Worm
Yeah.
is out here wrestling? Like, I was like, okay, I gotta see this. And from that point, like, I watched the rest of the matches and I was just like, oh, I'm hooked. Like, this is so good.
I mean, that's what sucked about WCW failing is because when they were legit competition, like it did bring out the best in
Yeah.
WWE, WWF back in the day. And just
Hmm.
that those Monday Night Wars, man, they were the best. Like, and
Yeah, you can watch
I would,
one and the other.
yeah, I remember like, um, because even back then, like Lester watched wrestling, and he
Hmm.
liked He was more of a WCW guy. I was more of a WWF guy, but I of course tried to watch everything.
Hmm.
And like, yeah, I remember I I did because like WCW would air like twice in a row, so like I could watch WWF and then switch over and watch WCW, and like yeah, it was
Yeah,
great. It was a great time to be a wrestling fan then. It was just
really was.
it was so exciting. They had so many like legit like stars. Like I mean, God, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn
Yeah,
Michaels,
Shawn, Bret
Undertaker,
Hart, Undertaker, yeah.
Mick Foley.
Mankind,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Just
Mick
so
Foley.
many like epic people. You know, it
Like,
was
and they
great.
had like their little shticks, like Degeneration X and what was that? The Nation of Domination. They were fun.
Oh, right,
Uh,
right.
they had those two brothers. They're like big black dudes. Like they're from Houston, I think, right? Like I forgot their names, but
Oh, are you talking about Harlem Heat?
yeah, Harlem Heat.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
I mean,
at
I can't
WCW
name them
had
all.
like the NWO.
Yeah, NWO was awesome.
That was huge.
Yeah, they were the best ones. Yeah, Scott Steiner and all them.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah. How did that
Ex-
dude fight with a toothpick in his mouth? I'd be so scared.
oh, that was well, that was Scott Hall, but
Scott
like
Hall. Yeah.
I think he would I think usually he would take it out before he started wrestling. Like he would
Oh,
usually
okay.
like,
Okay.
throw it at the other guy or whatnot,
Gotcha.
but yeah, it would be very bad to wrestle with a toothpick in your mouth.
Right.
Although there are some guys with like, you know, they'll wrestle with like, earrings and piercings and stuff, and that always seemed kind of dangerous to me too. It'd be very easy for them to get caught on something and get ripped out.
Oh, for sure. That's dangerous, man. Um, I remember Rey Mysterio Jr. Like all these people got to be like 50 or 60 by now. Like, man,
Yeah, like yeah. So and some of those guys are still going. Like
are they? That's what I
Ray.
was going to ask you. Like, who's still going?
Yeah, I mean Ray Mysterio.
He
He was.
is.
He is. Yeah. Yeah, he's got to be in his 50s, I would imagine.
Yeah, I can't believe. So he's still like doing the same stuff he used to do.
Yeah, he does actually. He's still like flying. I'm sure he slowed down a little bit, but he still does a lot of like flips and dives and stuff.
That's impressive. Yeah. Hmm. Whatever happened to that Great Khali? I didn't really watch that period too much, but what did he do? What like did he leave wrestling? Because he was
Yeah.
built for it. I feel like.
Well, he eventually left though. The thing was, he is one of the worst workers that I've ever seen. Like in the business,
Oh,
like
okay.
if you actually watch him wrestle, like he's awful. But like
Oh, he didn't learn anything.
he was so big that he was just such an attraction that they put the belt on him and he got a run and everything. But
Yeah.
if you actually watch his matches, he was terrible.
Oh, okay. So he didn't bother to learn. Okay, that sucks.
Well,
I remember the big guys like Lesnar and Goldberg. They knew their stuff though. They were fun to watch.
oh yeah, yeah. You know what's weird though is I heard that the Great Khali actually had like a wrestling school in India, and I'm like, man, I hope he's not the one actually teaching it,
Right. Yeah.
because
I
good
think he's just
lord,
going by his name. He must be going by his reputation.
that would be my guess. Is like he just like owns it or something. Because yeah,
Yeah.
he was awful in the ring.
Right. Oh. Wow. I mean, he's huge. He's got to be like 7 feet tall or something. I don't know.
There is another Indian guy named Jinder Mahal that he had a run with the championship for a while.
Okay. I mean, like, it makes sense for them to throw like an Indian person in there once in a while because they're so popular in India. Like, it probably makes the fans like show up and support, one of their own or whatever.
Yeah, and honestly, like nothing against that Jinder Mahal guy. Like I think I've heard that like most people say in real life he's like a good guy or whatever, and
Mhm.
he's in excellent shape. But like I kind of think if they weren't trying to expand the wrestling market in India, they would have never put the title on him because he's not
Oh,
that
they put a
exciting of
title
a guy.
on him?
Yeah, so for many like he had a run with like because they for a while they've had like two championship belts, one on Raw, one on SmackDown. So it's not as special, but he had one of them. So he had a title run like probably 10 years ago at this point.
Mhm.
Um, but
So
yeah,
he
I
wasn't like anything special.
no, I do kind of feel like they put the title on him because they were trying to
Appeal to the market.
appeal to the Indian market. Yeah,
Um, okay, Ultimate Dragon. What about him?
I I haven't. I don't think he wrestles anymore. I
He
haven't
was
seen
so
him.
cool. He was so cool.
A lot of those guys just had like cool masks and stuff, and they
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
they
Yeah,
just
it's
made
a
you
cool
wonder
name.
about them. Yeah, yeah, Ultimate
Yeah,
Dragon. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. WCW, man, they had a lot of those masked guys, and some were from Japan and some were from Mexico. You know,
Makes sense though. Like the wrestling culture there is like very, it's big, right? Like I think America like really exported a lot of stuff to Japan, like baseball and wrestling for sure.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Because like I'm pretty sure wrestling's roots are from the American Carnival system.
So Mexico, like they have a deep rooted culture in wrestling too. Do you think they had it before we did, or like you think it's from America? Because I don't know anything about that.
That's a good question. I'm actually not sure. It could have been a parallel thing too, where like they
Yeah, because
started
they're right next to each other. Yeah.
because yeah, you're right. I know like Lucha Libre in Mexico, it has like a very storied history as well. So I don't,
Mhm.
and I think it's you know stylistically is very different from American wrestling. So
Mhm. Mhm.
so yeah, that's a good question. I don't know um, if it's one of those things where like they started doing stuff too. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I can't think of what else I might have seen recently. I'm sure I have been watching new shows though. I've been watching like I've been rewatching like bad movies because I've been showing them to like uh my girlfriend
Oh,
and
right, right.
like in one week I think we watched uh one Neil Breen movie. I forgot what it's called. Fateful Findings, terrible movie. The Room, Troll 2, Miami Connection. Um, hmm. I think that might be it. But just a great run of TV like movies, man. Just fantastic. And I'm gonna try to get her to watch Samurai Cop this weekend.
Man, you are really testing the bounds of this relationship. You
Oh yeah,
you were putting her through the ringer.
she loves bad movies just like I do. So I
Oh,
mean, at
okay,
least she claims
okay.
to. So I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
She's gonna be like, I was wrong. These are too bad.
Maybe she's a masochist.
That could be. That could be. Man, I do wonder like how many millions of dollars Tommy Wiseau has made off the room because I believe he like owns all the rights to it. Like,
For sure. And like
yeah,
they made that Hollywood movie based on the making of The Room, right? With James
right.
Franco
Yeah,
and
the
Seth Rogen.
disaster artist.
Yeah, right. So I mean, he must have gotten a pretty penny for that too. And The
Yeah, I would
Room
imagine.
is like we bought a copy of The Room, right? So and that, I think that cost like $30 or something.
Damn.
And I think you have to go to his website to buy it or something. So like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's making all that money.
Which it's probably smart of him not to like make a deal with like a streamer or something and be like, no, you have to buy it directly from me. Like I'm sure he makes more money that way.
For sure. Like, and people are gonna buy it. Like, it's The Room. Like, it's such a cult classic. Like, he made a masterpiece without trying to. Like, he was trying to go the opposite direction, but boy, that Rubber Band just went the other way. Like, he made the one of the greatest bad movies to ever exist. Well, so far, Gabby, that's her name. Her favorite movie is Troll 2, which is awful. And then Miami Connection was up there too, because this is a great movie. You got to see it. I swear, Zach, you got to see these movies, man.
Tell me what is the premise of Miami Connection? I don't think I've heard of this.
All right. It's written by a Korean guy, and he's the main actor, and he's trying his best to speak English. Um, they're a group of friends who are also in a rock band called Dragon Sound, but they sing like basically family friendly type songs, but they sing it in an underground seedy kind of place. uh so they're over there just like doing their PG-13 dancing and singing, while the people in the place are like roughnecks and like, tough guys or whatever. And but those tough guys are just, they're loving their music. They're like, yes, Dragon Sound, blah, blah. And they're just like friends forever or whatever they're singing. And
They're
like,
singing like the Wiggles like type
yeah.
songs.
Yeah. But they're okay, so they're also a band. They go to a UCF, the school. They're studying for like whatever, different things. One's like getting into computers and this and that. But they're also all, I think, karate masters or something. Like they all know karate. Um, so when they get into trouble, like somehow, for some reason, people just keep like attacking these people violently. Like gangs of people found these college students who perform PG-13 songs in a seedy establishment for sure, but like they just keep attacking them, and like of course they use their skills as karate masters to like fight them off as a team. And like literally 40, 50 people are running away from like 5 or 6 people. That's how it ends up. um I'm gonna spoil this for you because it's an old movie, and I imagine people have seen it by now.
Oh, you're gonna
um
ruin it for me. No,
I
go
know,
ahead.
but
Go
the
ahead.
main one of the so there's a couple in that movie who are like, they're into each other. They're part of the group, right? And one of the girl's brother is like a tough guy. He's like a gang leader, and he's really overprotective. In one scene, she goes, "This is a friend of mine," and he goes, "Friend?" He like loses. Like, you have a friend? Like, okay. But this guy, the guy she likes, her boyfriend, I guess, um, kills her brother because they get in a fight. They're attacked at like some scene. They have to save one of their teammates or whatever. And he kills her brother. And the next day, he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry about what happened." She's like, "Oh, it's okay."
Things
Like,
happen. He kind of sucked
yeah,
anyway.
it's just one of those things. And like, there's another scene where like this Korean like restaurant owner who's like a friend to the group or something, like he gets like assaulted by this group of like just jerks, who are eating at his restaurant. They don't want to pay the bill and they start beating him up. And like of course the gang comes in and like saves him and everything is like wholesome, I guess. But like one of the guys who's assaulting him is wearing booty shorts, like really tiny shorts, and you can see the outline of his penis barely hanging in there. Like his shorts are fighting for dear life. Oh my god, it's just, I mean, look, there's a part in this movie where one of the characters, he gets a letter from his estranged father who left his family a long time ago. This is just a random plot line in this movie, and like he's crying while talking about it, and the Korean guy goes, oh, I thought we were all orphans. Like, why did you think that? Like, what? It's such a weird movie.
Man, it's insult to injury to get beat up by the booty shorts guy.
For sure, for sure. Like, you got beat up by old booty shorts. Like, that's messed up, dude.
Every time he does a roundhouse, you're just afraid that those booty shorts are gonna explode.
I'd rather get kicked than see his balls fall out of his shorts. Oh my god. I'm just so these ninjas ride motorcycles in this movie. There's random scenes, like it's such a like feel good like friend movie, but then when they show like the tough guys hanging out, there's tits everywhere. Like you don't it's so weird like in this movie for them to do that. Like but there's like a scene with a bunch of tough guys in a bar who are all bikers and like, whatever they are. And yeah, just tits everywhere. It doesn't make sense in this movie. It doesn't. It's out of the blue. And then at the end of the movie, I might as well spoil it all. Screw it. I'm going in on this movie. Um, the guy whose estranged father is coming to visit him. Well, him and his friends are going to meet his father, but on their way, because that one guy killed the girl's brother, who was like the leader of a gang. Well, he was friends with another leader of a gang who's a big Japanese samurai type. Like he's like the leader of a Japanese samurai ninja group or whatever they are. And that guy wants revenge for them killing that girl's brother. He's more upset about it than the girl is, by the way. She's like, whatever happened, happened. But he's like, you killed my friend, and he's pissed about it. So while they're taking that guy to see his estranged father, they attack them, and the guy, the guy whose father the guy who's going to meet his father, he gets slashed up real bad. So now the other two friends who are with him are furious, and they pick up swords and just start murdering these ninjas. I mean, it is savage. There's blood all over them. I mean, like one looks like Michael Phelps, by the way. One of these guys looks like Michael Phelps. And he's like taller than everybody, and he's just slashing the hell out of people. And at the end of the movie, after all this violence takes place, there's a message that says you can't accomplish anything through violence. Peace is the way to do it. Like it's the strangest thing. The Korean guy who's the leader of this friend group or whatever, who wrote the movie, he has this move where he keeps putting his feet on people's faces and like pinching their nose with his toes. He does it once while he's doing a sparring session, and then he does it again during one of their rock performances, one of their band performances. Like in the middle of a performance, he just puts his foot on somebody's face, like one of the band members, and he's just moving their face along with his toes. And that guy's having a ball. He's laughing about it. He's like, oh, yay, like it's a great movie, is all I can say about this.
I want you to try that move on your girlfriend and see what how she
Oh
reacts.
my god, I won't have a girlfriend.
You're like, it's a callback.
Oh my god. No, it's so bad.
Hey, how was the actual action in the movie? Did they do that well, or did that look terrible as well?
The action was okay. I mean, it's no John Wick, of course, right?
Right.
But I mean, for what it is, like a cheesy 80s movie or 90s, I don't know what it was, but I mean, a low budget movie, clearly. They did their best. It wasn't too bad.
I know there was a movie like because I listened to How Did This Get Made, and last year there was a movie where like it was shot in the 80s, but then like someone lost the footage or something, and then like somebody found it and then like put it out, and it was like really like cheesy. I
Yeah,
forget it.
yeah.
I forget the name of it, but
I forgot the name of that too. There's a guy on YouTube named Fanboy Flicks, and I think he covered that movie. I'm not
uh,
sure, but yeah, I don't know. I gotta look that up. I do know what you're talking about though.
but yeah, there's some weird movies out there, man, especially from the 80s. Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, anybody can make a movie back then. Like your dog could make a movie back then. You had a camera. I don't know who was distributing these movies for these people, but they were eager to do it. Like, I don't know.
that is something you wonder about because, like, yeah, I never really understood how movie distribution works, but like, yeah, it seems like they would have had to have somebody back in the day distributing these pieces of crap
Yeah.
movies, and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, also like you have to imagine like a lot of these didn't get a theatrical release, right? They were probably just like straight to video type things.
I imagine so. I mean, yeah, for sure. For sure.
So weird. Should we get in a few stories?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, AJ, I'll start with you. We'll go back and forth, see if we
Let's do
can't
it.
find some fun stories from around the globe.
Okay. Well, I saw Moist Critical cover this one, but it's such an interesting story that I just felt like we should cover it. I found it in an article too. So, man suffers from rare demonic face syndrome that distorts people's faces. A Tennessee man has been diagnosed with, oh my gosh, prosopatamorphosia. I'm not getting that right. Or PMO. We'll call it PMO.
They should just
Uh,
name it after this guy. How many people can have this?
right? Yeah. Well, an extremely rare neurological disorder that makes other people's faces appear severely distorted. Imagine waking up one day and looking at the faces of your loved ones, only to discover that their ears, noses, and mouths are all stretched back and deep grooves have appeared in their foreheads, cheeks, and chins. Then you go outside and see that everyone has this goblin like look on their faces, and you start to freak out. It sounds like a nightmare, but it's one that 59-year-old Victor Shara has been experiencing since one November morning in 2020. He was only recently diagnosed with PMO, an extremely rare disorder that causes faces to seem distorted. The middle-aged truck driver had always had sharp eyesight, so he knew something was wrong on that fateful day in 2020 when he noticed a disfigured-looking man in his apartment. It turned out to be his roommate, but as he went outside, Shara realized everyone he looked at had their face stretched or almost demonic look on their faces. Um, my first thought was when I woke up in a demon world. About the day he started seeing demonic faces everywhere. You can't imagine how scary it was. I was really freaking out at that point. I was going to have myself committed. PMO is an ultra rare disorder. Only 75 cases have ever been recorded, so doctors don't really know much about it. They know that it is frequently misdiagnosed as a psychiatric condition, but unlike schizophrenia, the facial distortion is not accompanied by delusional beliefs about the identities of the people the patient encounters. Victor Shara says he always recognizes the people he interacts with, despite their distorted faces, and he has learned to live with his rare condition. In order to learn about PMO, scientists at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire worked with Shara to recreate the facial distortions he perceives, effectively allowing everyone to see the world through his eyes. They were able to do this because Victor only sees people's faces distorted when he meets them in person, but not in photos or on TV. So the scientists showed him photos of various people while they were also there in real time, so he could point out the differences to them. PMO symptoms can last for days, weeks, even years, and unfortunately, in Victor's case, he has been living with them for almost 4 years now. He still hopes that they will go away on their own in their own time, but he has also learned to live with them. No one knows what causes PMO, but researchers believe that in Shara's case, the visual distortions may be caused by a serious head injury he sustained when he was 43, or by carbon monoxide poisoning he suffered 4 months before he started seeing demonic faces around him. Jeez, that's a nightmare, dude. I mean,
That
at least
is,
he can still see videos and pictures of people, but jeez.
I kind of wonder. Like, I don't know exactly how they work, but have you seen at all like videos of that? Apple has their new like VR/AR unit that people can
I've heard
wear.
about it. Mhm.
I'm almost wondering if he could wear something like that, and it would almost be like he would be seeing the world through
Right.
a video. basically, even
Mhm.
though it'd be like right by his eye. So that way, like maybe he could see people as normal, but he'd always be kind of in like a VR unit. So he'd be looking at kind of like at a video, but it would be like, right with him, and he would always move around in real time and everything.
Is that how it works? Like you can like you just go out into the world and you can use that to see through? Like
I actually don't know for sure.
okay. I mean, I know it
Um,
costs $3,500, which is a small
yeah,
fortune. Yeah.
yeah. It might not work like that, but I could envision them possibly making something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make, yeah, I think they could for sure. Yeah. Um, Honestly, that would probably be easier than what the VR system is anyway, because like you would just need like a video system in between reality and what that person's seeing. So it's almost like having a camcorder on your face or something. I imagine. I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe it would be too cumbersome, but it seems like something that would theoretically be possible. I mean, maybe this guy would just get used to like seeing the demonic faces, and he's like, "Oh, maybe it's not a big deal anymore." I don't know, but
Sex would be crazy, man.
oh, gee, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
He's like doggy style only.
Oh yeah. Only doggy style. Oh my god.
um, I found this story about a month ago, but it's like it should be one of those like Darwin Award winners.
Okay.
Man died after taking a loaded gun into an MRI scan.
Oh
Uh,
my god.
a man has died after bringing a loaded gun with him inside a magnetic resonance imaging room. 40-year-old lawyer Leandro Matias de Nevaez was carrying a concealed weapon while accompanying his mother to an appointment. The Brazilian was allegedly carrying a gun while accompanying his mother to her appointment at Laboratorio Cura that was concealed under his waistband. According to reports, the man's weapon was pulled out of his waistband by the magnetic forces from the MRI machine, discharging into his stomach. Following the horrific incident, Laboratorio Cura released a statement. Both the patient and her companion were properly instructed regarding the procedures for accessing the examination room and warned about the removal of any and all metallic objects, according to the
Okay.
my.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that. First of all, you don't need to be warned. We all know what an MRI machine is. But like they do warn you and still like what are you afraid of happening in that MRI machine that you need a gun for?
Well, maybe he thought because it wasn't actually him like going into the machine; it was his mom. So maybe he just assumed that I'll be far enough away from it that it won't affect me.
Mm.
I don't
Okay.
know. It says the firearm was not mentioned by the companion who entered the examination room with the object by his decision. The statement concluded. De Novaes had a license to carry the weapon, but it is unclear why he chose to carry it with him despite several warnings beforehand. Prior to his death on February 6th, he regularly posted TikTok videos of pro-gun
Oh,
content, according to the New York Post. Um, but how exactly do MRI machines work? Well, they create powerful magnetic fields and radio waves that target hydrogen nuclei, also known as protons, in water. While the protons are subjected to the powerful magnetic fields, their axes line up a force that is about 1,000 times stronger than a standard fridge magnet. This is why the gun went off even without the man getting into the machine itself. Being in the room was high enough force to set the gun off. Science editor Abby Berger further explained the effects of the machine in the BMJ. This uniform alignment creates a magnetic vector oriented along the axis of the MRI scanner. When additional energy in the form of a radio wave is added to the magnetic field, the magnetic vector is deflected. The radio wave frequency that causes the hydrogen nuclei to resonate is dependent on the element sought, hydrogen in this case, and the strength of the magnetic field, Berger continues. When the radio frequency source is switched off, the magnetic vector returns to its resting state, and this causes a signal, also a radio wave, to be emitted. It is this signal which is used to create the MR images. She concludes, MRIs are incredibly useful for seeing inside your body, specifically cartilage and muscles, with other methods can't image as effectively. There have been previous incidents of people being fatally sucked into MRI scanners,
Hmm.
though usually when metal oxygen tanks are brought into the room. I mean, an oxygen tank is something that like the doctor should be able to see. Well, I guess
Yeah.
they do make smaller portable ones that maybe somebody could sneak in.
Hmm.
But it is ironic that this guy is one of these like I mean, and listen, I'm not anti guns, but this guy like you know, this is one of those guys that just insist on going everywhere with a gun and he's like,
Yeah.
freedom. I'm going I'm taking my gun in here. I don't care what they say.
I
And
don't care
like
about science.
by the way,
Physics can eat my balls.
I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure where this happened because they say he's Brazilian, but then they had a quote from like the Miami Herald. So like I don't know if this is in Florida. I don't know if it's actually in Brazil or
Or
where it
maybe he was
happened.
like from Brazil, but he came to Miami, like,
That could
like a
be.
Brazilian national or something.
But yeah, not a good
Yeah.
choice, buddy. Not a good choice.
It's a bad look for the gun crowd. So I have a
It,
couple of stories. I don't know which one to go with. They're both pretty good, but we're gonna
okay.
probably run out of time before I get the next one. So okay, I'm gonna go with this one because it's just it's a little bit better. I think. I don't know. We'll see. Woman poisons pregnant coworker to prevent higher workload caused by maternity leave. A Chinese woman is being accused of trying to terminate a coworker's pregnancy by poisoning her water to prevent her from taking maternity leave and thus avoiding a higher workload. In one of the most shocking cases of work-related incidents reported in China, a worker at the government-affiliated institution of Hubei province allegedly tried to terminate. Okay, is this repeating? The nefarious plan reportedly came to light when the victim noticed that her water kept tasting strange, regardless of its source. At first, she was convinced that it was the office's water supply, but the taste persisted even after she switched to bottled water. That's when she decided to investigate further. One of the unnamed victim's friends joked that someone in the office might be trying to poison her, and the woman decided to put the theory to the test by using her tablet to video record her desk and anyone who came near it. That's how she caught one of her colleagues in the act as they poured a powder like substance into her water bottle before quickly turning away and leaving without anyone noticing. According to screenshots of WeChat conversations, when confronted, the suspected poisoner said she was tinkering with the victim's water because she couldn't handle the extra workload by herself when the pregnant woman went on maternity leave. The victim has already alerted the police and an investigation is underway. Authorities are treating this case with the utmost seriousness, as if it turns out that the suspect was acting with an intent to cause harm, it could constitute a crime of injury regardless of the nature of the substance she was using. The unusual case went viral on Chinese social media, where most users expressed their shock at the coworker's twisted solution to dealing with a potential workload increase. Poisoning someone just because you do not want them to take leave. She has been watching too many police dramas, one person commented on WeChat. I mean, look, man, there are some psychopaths out there. That is some psychopath behavior. I think they say there's like just a small percentage of psychopaths out there. I'm not sure what it is. Like, I think sociopaths is like, I don't know, like like a few percent of 100 or whatever. I don't know, but
I don't know if this is true, but I heard like one in like 26 people have like sociopathic tendencies or something like that.
I believe it. I believe it. I feel like I've met my fair share of sociopaths, and like you can kind of tell who's a sociopath. Like you can pick up on it after a little while.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Wait, do you mind if I go two in a row?
Well, I just want to get back to that one for a minute.
Yeah,
Like, a part of me wonders, like, two things. Like, number one, like, how bad are the working conditions at this place that this woman,
true.
like, felt that desperate, like, oh my God, I'm going to
Yeah,
be worked to death if this woman leaves. And number two, like, was she, was her goal into, like, making the woman have a miscarriage?
I believe that's what her goal, because she wasn't trying to kill her. She would still need to do the work then. So I think
Right,
it was
right.
just yeah.
So what a weird thing to be like, oh, I gotta like make sure this woman like loses her baby. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that is evil. That
That's
is
yeah, that's another level for sure. Where was that?
uh,
China?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Story number two.
All right. Woman faces up to 7 years in prison for a negative online review. A Nigerian woman is facing up to 7 years in prison for allegedly breaking her country's cyber crime laws by posting a negative review online for a can of tomato puree. In September of last year, 39-year-old Chioma Okoli took to Facebook to voice her opinion about a can of tomato puree she had recently bought, claiming that it contained too much sugar and asking her friends and followers to express their opinions as well. Somehow, Okoli's post went viral on Meta's social network, generating over 3,000 comments, including one from a person claiming to be the sister of the founder of Erisco Foods Limited, the company that made the canned tomato puree. They asked Okoli to stop bashing the product and just try something else. But the woman doubled down on her claims, asking the person to ask their brother to stop killing people with his product. That ended up costing her, as she was arrested just days later and now facing up to 7 years in prison. I went to, I went to, but I went to, no, it's, I don't know, it's weirdly said. I went to buy, I think that's what it means to say. I went to buy tinned tomatoes yesterday that I will use to make stew, but didn't see my favorite. So I decided to buy this one, Chioma Okoli wrote in her original Facebook post. When I opened it, I decided to taste it. OMO, I don't know. I think she means OMG. Sugar, just too much. Uh, Habiko, let me know if you have used this tin before, because this is an Ikegwuru situation. These are words that I think are from Nigeria. On September 24th, while she was at church in Lagos, Okoli was approached by policemen in plain clothes and taken into custody for allegedly instigating Erisco Foods Limited, knowing she had information to be false under Section 24 of Nigeria's Cybercrime Prohibition Act. She was kept in a leaky cell for a day before being flown to Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where she was released on administrative bail. There were no seats, so I stood all throughout till the next day. My legs were inside the water that came in from the leaking roof. Sometimes I squatted to reduce the pressure on my legs. She told CNN Africa. I was thinking about my children who were at home. I was talking to myself. I would think, I would pray, I was messed up. On October 5th, 2023, police filed their case against the woman, and the first court hearing took place 2 months later. A judge issued a restraining order that Okoli couldn't be arrested without a court order, but the pregnant mother claims that police still found ways of harassing her, like when they entered her home in January and spent the entire day there. They stayed in my building from 6:30 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. My children couldn't go to school that day, and we couldn't go out to get food because the cooking gas was finished. Erisco Foods Limited, the company that makes the tomato puree that she referenced in her Facebook post, is also going after the Nigerian woman. It filed a N5 billion or $3 million lawsuit against her, claiming that the bad publicity caused it serious problems like the loss of several suppliers and multiple credit lines. And despite pressure from the general public and the founder of Erisco, Eric Imuofia, said he would rather die than allow anyone to tarnish the reputation he spent 40 years building. Chioma Okoli has filed her own lawsuits against both Nigerian police and Erisco Foods Limited, asking for 500 million naira, $361,171, in damages. Her lawyer described her struggle as a David versus Goliath battle. For voicing her opinion on social media, Chioma now faces up to 7 years in prison, a fine of 7 million naira, which is $5,000, or both. She is due in court on April 18th for her arraignment.
So I think we've learned from this story that Nigeria is owned by Big Tomato.
For sure. That
No,
tomato company is running over there.
I guarantee that's what caused this. Is that rich person saw these reviews, and the government of Nigeria is corrupt or whatever.
Yeah.
They complained to somebody at the top, and this lady's
Yeah.
paying for it.
Yeah, they're in their pockets, and this guy is wielding power that he's abusing, and he's trying to make an example out of anybody who talks bad about his product. That's crazy. That is so insane. Like, it's not hard to believe that it would happen. It happens. We heard about that guy who was supposed to whistleblow against Boeing. In the middle of his whistleblowing, he decides he's depressed and kills himself. These powerful corporations, these companies are like, there's no limit to what they can do.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We talk all the time about like how corrupt the American government is, and it is. But man, we have nothing on like some of these third world like countries,
Oh,
especially like dictatorships and stuff. It's just insane.
yeah, yeah. I mean, over there, because you're not educating the people as well as they are here. I mean, we're doing a good job of trying to make people stupid here too, but they do have more resources and access to information and stuff like that. Whereas in those countries, I imagine it's not the case as much, you know? So yeah, I mean, I I've seen like African like leaders who get away with anything and everything. Like they mislead their people so much. I mean, it's not just Africa. India is an example. Like there's so many people in India who don't have a decent education, who don't have critical thinking, and they fall for what these politicians have to say, and these criminal scumbag politicians who are corrupt as hell, and it just works, you know?
Oh man, you know something related that I don't think we've talked about, and people are going to turn off because we're talking about politics probably, but like
Yeah.
um, this whole thing about how the U.S. government, you know, a lot of politicians are trying to get TikTok banned in the
Hmm.
U.S. and they're framing it as though, oh, it's because you know the privacy issues and China is stealing the you know private data of American citizens.
Hmm.
But that's not the case at all. It's 100% the conflict in Israel and Palestine.
Oh, for
Be-
sure.
because basically they're pissed off that TikTok is actually showing people videos of the actual like genocide and like
Yeah.
undeniable
It's heavy.
genocide and horrors going over there.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, APAC and like, you know, a select number of like wealthy donors are
Mhm.
basically pressuring these politicians to, you know, get rid of TikTok because of this. And you know,
Yeah.
also like the big like traditional, you know, media outlets too, like they don't want competition or somebody who, you know, and like people who advertise on their networks, like, you know, they don't want them showing the real story because of course like the real story is horrific, you know.
Yeah.
So they want to get rid of TikTok because they want to control the narrative. So you know, and like it's and the thing is like the privacy issue is an issue, but like so many American apps are like terrible with people's privacy.
Oh, yeah.
And so that is not the issue. It's just a smokescreen, you know. So it's like I don't know. Um it's getting crazy. Yeah.
I mean, now they're trying to like change a little bit. I think like so they know that there are people who sell on there. There's business that can be done on TikTok. So what they're trying to do is like put it under American control. Like I guess TikTok in America should be owned by America. Like is what they're trying to do. Um, which I mean, they're gonna do the same thing. Like they're gonna clean it up like for whatever they want us to see. So I have to admit though, like when I was on TikTok, that stuff was really heavy. Like I had to get off, man. Like it's so hard to watch that stuff.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be able to watch those videos, but I
Yeah,
mean, that is what's causing the issue is like, you know, it's impossible to watch those videos and not recognize that it is a you know a genocide and that they're like
yeah,
just slaughtering innocent people left and right.
for
It's
sure.
plainly obvious, and you see videos like that, and it's like okay, there's no denying it. They're just like
Yeah,
slaughtering innocents, you know.
yeah.
Um,
It doesn't matter where you stand. Like once you see it, I mean, you can't. You know, what are you gonna do? You can't say it's not real, right?
yeah, yeah, it's impossible to you know you got to be lying to yourself. And I see people on some of these talk shows that are clearly in denial or lying to themselves, you know. And I'm like, I saw, you know, what's crazy is like, I don't know if you've watched any recent Bill Maher's, but
Mhm.
like, even he's obnoxious on this issue because you know, he always frames it where like, you know, I'm unapologetically on Israel's side. And he's like, oh, these kids watch TikTok and they're all pro Hamas. And I'm like, who's coming out as like pro Hamas? Like,
Yeah, they
they're,
always do that. They always like contort the argument into like if you're not for what we're doing, which is a genocide, then you're pro Hamas. Like, that's so black and white and just so like it's such a fake argument. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like they're very clearly just like anti the IDF, you know, and
Yeah.
to frame it like that is just, and I don't know, you know, Bill Maher. I'll watch his show or listen to his show just because like there usually is some interesting discussion on there. But like he definitely has taken like he denies this that he's like changed his he always says like, oh, I've never changed, just the people have changed or whatever, you know what I mean? But I'm like,
Mhm.
no, you've changed a little bit over the years, Bill. I think so.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's I mean, you can't stand for anything 100%. Like when new information can come to light, it should make you think twice, you know? Um I went to some protests for this cause, you know? And at every protest I saw Jewish people too, you know? So it's not like it's like everybody who has compassion, you know, who has a heart that I believe, you know, wants to do something to change things and, you know, whatever, like be active. I mean, it doesn't matter what their background is. I've seen them out there, you know, like yeah, I don't know.
That is a good point to make. And from what I understand, there's even a ton of people in Israel who have protested
Yeah,
the IDF.
Orthodox Jews, they're very much like, you know, from what I understand, like in support of treating them with dignity and not doing these kinds of things and like, you know, but they I've seen videos of them getting attacked by the military, you know, like uh I I think there was a statement that somebody said that we'll do to you what we're doing to them in Gaza, you know, like it's they're just silencing people left and right, you know.
Yeah, there was a woman on Bill Maher, and I think she was Jewish, but like you know, she was like you know basically saying that um, you know they voted for to put Hamas in power in like 2006 or whatever, but you know my way of thinking is like okay they did, but like are you or what are you telling me then? Is it all the like kids that have been slaughtered that weren't even born at that point? Like you're
Right.
advocating that they should have to pay for the sins of their fathers? I mean, that's what you're
Right.
doing if you say that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Um I saw a politician who I think on the mic said something about like kill them all. Like it's so blatant and bold and it's just like they don't fear any backlash. It's just nuts, you know. It's so open. They're so brazen about it.
Oh yeah, some of the like ultra right wing people, man. Yeah, they are just brazen about it. Like they don't even. It's not even like dog whistly stuff. They're just like, yeah, kill them all. Like they're just, you
Yeah,
know.
it's sad, you know. Like I don't know how factual this is, but I think there's like a theory that like 20% of people in society will just like they're it's like Nazi Germany. Like they're all in on you know the acts that you know they that benefit them, whether it's you know hurting people or whatever. Like they'll do it. Then 60% of the population just turns the other like they're a blind eye to it. They don't want to get involved, they don't want any trouble, they just let it happen. And then the bottom 20% or the last 20% are the ones who are actively fighting against it. But at that point, you know, you're basically fighting against 80% of the population because 60% is just going along with, you know, whatever bad thing, you know, the people in power are doing. So I mean, it just seems like it's a losing battle every time.
It does. I don't know how that Israel conflict's gonna end because you know the thing I wonder about is like let's say Israel just like does kill them all and they just like take over the area or whatever. Isn't that
Yeah.
just gonna you know cause all the other Middle Eastern countries that hate Israel to like start attacking them? I don't know. I just don't see it ending well.
Honestly, dude, I don't know about that because you're looking at these other countries. Saudi Arabia is supposed to be like the country that, you know, is the like the headquarters of that religion, right? Islam. And they're good friends with Israel. You know, they're working with Israel. So the dollar is king. The dollar does everything. Like if you can, some people will sell their own mother for $1, you know, like,
No, yeah.
so I mean, I don't know. I don't know about them doing anything about it. They're not doing anything about it now, you know?
You know, the other thing I've heard like people in defense of Israel say is like, well, Hamas could stop this today by just like releasing all the hostages. But according to the IDF, that isn't even true because they said, okay, release all the hostages and we'll give you a 6-week ceasefire. Not that they'll end it completely. We'll give you we'll give you 6 weeks to say goodbye before we start the ethnic cleansing over again. You know what I mean? It's
The
like,
last time they had a ceasefire, it didn't even last the 4 days they said it would last. So I mean, yeah, it's hard to believe that.
yeah, like, yeah, that's the other thing is like we're gonna pretend like the IDF doesn't have a history of lying like all the
Yeah.
time. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I feel bad for that entire like region and like I don't know how it's gonna end. Not well, I don't think.
Man, it's not the only place in the world though. You hear about Congo, like slavery's loud and proud over there, you know, like we support some groups of people who will enslave others to like mine for I think cobalt or something, or you know, resources that we're going to use. And then Elon Musk wants to go into Mexico and get their lithium. Like it's just a never-ending cycle. Like it's all about the dollar. It always comes down to that.
That's true. At the end of the day, like even when religion like kicks the hornet's nest, there usually is some sort of resource, whether it's oil or something at
Hmm.
the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, these things, religion, all that stuff is just tools they use to like
yeah,
manipulate people. But the real thing is like a few people are going to make a lot of money. You
yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah. Well, on that happy note, no, I just wanted to talk about the TikTok story because it's wild, man.
Yeah. No, it is. I
It's so
agree.
apparent, and it's just I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm curious how that's gonna end because yeah, you're right. It'll probably end up getting bought by like an American, and then they'll just create some algorithm that suppresses all that stuff, kind of like other platforms have done, and it's just like I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, I guess a mix on this episode of funny stuff and not funny stuff, but that's the way that the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah.
But everybody listening and watching, please subscribe both to the YouTube channel and you can subscribe in audio form on your podcast catcher of choice. Leave us thumbs up, positive reviews, all that good stuff. If you like, you can follow me on Twitter/X at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. But that'll do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.